If you're just starting out in the Pokemon trading card game, you might feel a little overwhelmed by the process of deck building. I get it. How do you pick the right 60 cards to go into battle? And one of the best things about the internet is that there's all sorts of resources to find different ideas and builds for decks that you can use as a starting point to build your own. And in today's video, I'm going to cover a lot of different resources online that you can use for references for how to build decks. And yeah, just a lot of great places that have some of the best decks in the game, sometimes with extra explanations for how things work, and even previews for decks for cards that aren't even out yet. I'm Jet from inthirdperson.com. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's cover some places online you can go for deck lists. And I do want to preface this by saying, like, again, I'm such a big proponent of this. Looking at other people's deck lists is totally fine. You're not a better player because you can create decks from scratch. If anything, pretty much no one creates decks from scratch anyway. Even international players are using deck lists from Japan as a starting point to then tweak. So hardly anyone is actually building net new ideas from scratch. It's fine to copy lists and tweak them to best suit your needs. So with that in mind, let's go and look at some websites and other online resources for deck lists. And where we're going to start is on Justin Basil. I will put all of the links to these sites and YouTube channels in the description of this video below. And we're going to start with Justin Basil because they do an amazing job of not only having just like deck lists, like they break up deck lists by meta decks, budget decks, new decks. Let's look at the meta deck list, for example, and they've got a written description of, hey, here's how you play the deck, here is the deck list, here are some key cards. You can watch examples of how these decks are played, and oftentimes they have even just alternate builds in here as well. They have the costs for how much it is to build these decks IRL. And on top of just having deck lists, they also have like an entire guide to deck building. So if you want to build decks on your own, what are the key core concepts of how do you build a deck? Here are proxies. So if you're looking for making your own cards where you can then test on your own, this is like one of the, if not the best site on the internet for just learning how to build decks. We've also got Limitless. This is, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff on Limitless, but I use it mostly for decks that are used in tournaments. So if you click on this deck section, you will see all of the lists, like all of the decks that are being played in the current format. As you can see at the time of this recording, we are in the Scarlet and Violet era of the Pokemon trading card game. If you wanted to see decks from different eras, you can just click on the tab here and switch. And from here, you can see all of the archetypes in Limitless tournaments. They're all listed based on like how popular these decks are. So you can see there's been 1,800 Lost Zone box decks in Limitless tournaments. They win at a rate of 48%. And you can kind of see like here's kind of the strongest decks, and better yet, when you click on Lost Box, you can see a bunch of the best placing decks, but you can also sort by date, where like if you see that, for example, let's go and refresh this page. Like maybe the top deck they list here is 3 months old and you want to see what's the latest tech. You can go and sort by date. You can sort by score. You can sort by ranking. I just want to see the first place deck, right? And then you just click on list and you can see the list of cards here. You can open it as an image so you can then see what the cards are and the counts, or you can click copy to clipboard and then paste that into PTCG Live and just add that deck to your list. Let's actually do that. Let's go hop over to PTCG Live. I just copied this deck and I will show how to do that. So let's go into decks. Let's go create a deck and I will hit import. Import successful, and boom, I just copied that entire deck into my game. And that's how you do that. So Limitless, an amazing resource for this. On top of that, you can click on matches and you can see, oh, actually, let's go back. When you are on the archetype page, right? So here's Lost Zone box. You can click on matchups and see how these decks fare against one another in tournament. So Lost Box versus Lugia Archeops. They only win at 43%, so kind of a bad matchup. They win at 52.71% against Gardevoir, and this is across 800 matches of data. So lots of data to go on. So Lost Box favored in this one. They go about even with Mew. They have an advantage against Giratina, Lost Box, and so on. And there are a lot of different lists based on, these are the lists that people are playing. And you can use these as a starting point. If you are looking for hot off the presses of major tournaments, you can look at, this is not actually the site. This is a good site as well, but I want PTCG stats. And this shows the tournament results for major IRL events, and we can go and click on major event data. We're currently in the 22-23 season, and let's go click on Portland Regionals, for example. And here's the final standings of the winners, their records. Here are their deck lists for anyone. These are pulled straight from the player's Twitter account. So if they don't have Twitter and they don't share it, then you don't see it. But in this case, for example, Landon Kettler did post theirs, and you can see all of the cards they used in their tournament winning list. On YouTube, of course, you can look at a bunch of different channels. Mine is one of many other resources that you can use for decks. Just a couple of quick shout outs. You might already know a number of these already, and there's definitely others that I probably don't have time to talk about here, but I'll shout out a few of my favorites for deck list resources. One of them is Tricky Jim. Andrew Mahone is a great player and one of the I think he is the biggest content creator in the competitive Pokemon TCG space. Over 100,000 subscribers. One of my biggest influences in the Pokemon TCG. Little Dark Fury is great, especially if you're looking at more rogue decks. He is the guy that you want to go to. Omnipoke is an amazing channel for a lot of competitive level analysis. If you're looking at deck list examples, you want to see decks in action, you want to see I was watching this video on Impact on Paldea Evolved where they break down, here are all of the new cards, here are the existing deck archetypes, how do the new cards impact these existing decks, and all that sort of deeper level analysis. Omnipoke is amazing for that. Azul GG, one of the best players in the Pokemon trading card game, has a very active channel, and they post lots of deck profiles and show a lot of in-game action. They're great at talking about their moves as they play. The Shuffle Squad is another notable channel here with rundowns on a bunch of the best decks. We've got Celio's Network, who I think on his main channel, he does a little more essay style content these days, but definitely has some video profiles, and his second channel does have more of the gameplay and deck lists and so on. For the Win TCG, definitely a great resource, really funny content creator as well. Leans a little more heavily on the rogue decks if you're into that kind of thing. And Popsicle Knight, who does some awesome rogue deck content as well. If you are looking for the next stuff, what the next set, Paldea Evolved, how are those cards impacted in tournament, you're gonna want to look at Twitter for some of these. So this is Pokeka Book, and they show sort of the top decks in local Japanese tournaments, and we can see here's an Artina deck with Vulpix, Squawkabilly, Lugia. Single Strike is still doing really good. Really weird use of Melmetal here, but that could be kind of cool. And this is an amazing resource for seeing what decks are coming next. And another one, Pokeka Recipe, is another similar Twitter account that lists top results from Japan, and you can kind of see what decks are popping off in the future. And there's another site it's a Japanese website called Ho-Oh News. Ho News, and you're gonna need something like Google Translate in order to translate. The site is in Japanese. Again, all the links for these sites will be in the description of this video below. And yeah, you browse through the site and you can look at the different archetypes they have. And let's just go click on, for example, here, Mew VMAX. And yeah, it'll translate, and then you can see different deck lists for Mew VMAX that have won in different events. And they even show you like this one, the Aichi runner-up was this one got the Hiroshima championship, and you can just see a bunch of lists from Japan that way. So yeah, there we go. That is a number of resources for decks. If there's any other websites or YouTube channels or Twitter accounts that you think are worth sharing here, please add them to the comments of this video. I just want this to be a great resource for new players looking for deck list ideas, to have a place to go and see what is out there and see what's working. And again, like I was gonna say this one last time, don't feel bad copying, like net decking other people's lists. It's a great way to like get a good deck for one, and then two, along the way, like learn those decks. I strongly recommend starting with another person's list, playing the decks and seeing how they work, and then making tweaks along the way based on your personal playstyle. But definitely, like, yeah, start with someone else's list and understand why that list works so well, and then adjust it based on what works best for you. So that's going to be the end of this video. If you're watching this live on Twitch, stick around, but we do have to say goodbye to YouTube. So yeah, here's your opportunity to say goodbye to YouTube for now. And before we go, some quick plugs. You can find me on all the things: YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at In Third Person. You can find me on Twitch at In Third Person, where I stream the Pokemon trading card game every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, like I am right now. And check out the website, inthirdperson.com, for more articles and videos on video games, board games, and other nerdy pursuits. So until the next one, I will see you later. Bye-bye.